It's the top 5 Commander creature types.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Commander Countdown. This is the series where we poll the community for different Commander topics and share those results with you. But before we get to the top 5 creature types of Commander, we're going to share our honorable mentions. We'd like to take a quick second to thank the sponsor of this episode, EDHRec. Without them, these episodes would not be possible. So on to our honorable mentions. We're going to go over a creature type each that we love or think are very powerful that didn't make the cut for the community top 5. We're going to go with mine first, and my favorite creature type is Goblins. I'm a big Goblin fan, played it in Legacy, played it here on not Commander Countdown, on, what's the name of our show again?
Commandered Out.
On Decked Out, episode 12, I played Krenko. Big Goblin fan. What do you think?
I can't deny that goblins are a very, very good creature type in Commander. I mean, they're constantly getting more support.
You also have some really cool commanders that are goblin kind of related, but not goblins themselves. Like Perforos is a really cool goblin commander that is actually pretty fun. And it's also cool to note that goblins have more decks on EDHRec than some of the other creature types that made the top 5.
I am a personal fan of like the Zada decks where you're weird copying spell slinging goblins. If there's a creature type that can satisfy this wide range of play styles, then I think they are worthy of being on the list.
And also the goblin art is always the best, like Goblin Grenade. Like when he has got the grenade in his mouth and they're launching him over the wall.
Mm-hmm. And the flavor text. Actually, yeah, the goblins all together, flavor win. So number one flavor creature type.
All right, so now let's move on to Veggie's honorable mention. Veggie, what is the creature type that should have been on this list?
I am really disappointed in the community. This did not get a single vote and is clearly the most powerful creature type in the game, and that is Homurids.
Homurids?
Yes.
I cannot think of a single Homurid commander. Is that a thing?
Of course it is. There are 2 possibilities.
Okay.
One is more fun because that can be a commander to support any creature type. It also gives you access to 5 colors, which you do not need because they're all in blue. If you're going to do them the right way, your commander would be Cod. Is the name of the card. It is a playtest card from the mystery boosters. And it specifically is a Homurid Lord that is legendary.
So I feel like you can't run these sort of shenanigans on Commander Countdown without actually paying your dues and playing that deck on the show.
I'm 100% going to do that, and I can't wait for the day that we do. There are a lot of general like creature type support cards. Reflections of Lajara.
How many Homurids are there, though?
4.
So do you see what I have to deal with every single day on this show? Like, we live in a content house, and it's just Veggie all the time with nonsense. That is an interesting honorable mention, Veggie. I look forward to seeing it on the show. Let's go ahead and jump into your guys' top 5 because I feel like they'll be way more relevant than Veggie's. Number 5, we've got zombies.
Ugh.
Not surprised to see zombies on the list. I feel like that's been a fan favorite for the last 20 years I've been playing Magic.
Feels like they're constantly getting good support.
Over 40,000 decks on EDHRec.
Whoa, relax, everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot. Do you know the full name of that one?
Yeah, Wilhelt.
Is that the whole name?
I want to say Wilhelt the Rock Cleaver. These are the sort of things that stick in my brain and push the other important things out.
By far the most played zombie with over 16,000 decks on EDHRec. And next, a card we've seen on our top 5s a bunch, the Scarab God. Certainly a card I see a lot on commander tables.
Yeah.
And then we've got an Esper one in Verena Lich Queen. I've never actually seen that one in play, but that looks sweet. I'm a big Esper fan.
Mm-hmm. That one, that's my favorite. It was just like, oh, adding an extra color because zombies are typically always Dimir.
I actually just bought a playset of Grave Crawlers. I like zombies.
I think I'm in trouble.
I bought the secret lair ones where they're wearing like the pink nightie.
Yes.
Love them.
We can't talk about zombies without bringing up Rooftop Storm. I don't think there is any other creature type that has a single enchantment that just says all of these are free.
Let's go ahead and move on to your guys' number 4. And it's important to note that this is actually the least played deck total here on EDHRec, but definitely a fan favorite to make it to number 4, and that is Slivers.
Slivers. The most popular commander for a Sliver deck is the first Sliver, and I feel like a bunch of you already saw that coming because with nearly 6,000 decks on EDHRec, you all have probably played against it.
Was that the deck that Power Dragon used on the show?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
I forgot which Sliver it was. They all kind of look, they're all danger noodles. They all kind of look...
Teapots.
I saw that. It did kind of look like a teapot. The next highest is the Sliver Overlord. And that's a 3-headed scary Sliver.
5 color and search your deck for thing and ability that doesn't seem to matter anyway. But like a tutor for your creature type in the command zone, very strong.
It's also important to note that Slivers just got a huge boost, right? They got not only a new commander, but also a bunch of other like little bonus Slivers that were just printed in Commander precons in the most recent Commander Legends set. So I expect to see a lot more Slivers at your local tables soon.
Yeah, now this is the first time ever that you can just pick up a deck for them. And the deck is very good. You may have seen from our episode where we previewed those Commander Masters precons.
Yeah, and though Slivers have the least amount of decks here on EDHRec at only 16,000 in the list of our top 6 essentially. It is important to note that number is growing. We have Sliver Gravemother, the new commander from that precon, already at 400 deck lists on the site, and it's only been around for 2.5, 3 weeks.
We said that like goblins and zombies are constantly getting more support. It is hard for Slivers to get new Slivers because there has to be some weird story thing that happens, or like a Commander Master set that brings them back in. So they don't change very often. They just are that good.
Yeah. You don't need teapots in every set.
Right.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the community's choice for number 3. Fan favorite of mine, vampires. Vampires make up over 34,000 decks on EDHRec, and a massive more than 15,000 of them are Edgar Markov.
I mean, that will happen when one of your creature representatives is also one of the best straight up commanders in the game. It was a precon at one point that was pretty widely available, so a bunch of people got into vampires at that point, but they still have some very good newer choices.
Yes. My favorite thing about vampires is that there's a wide range of different decks you can build. The vampires have a wide range of abilities, but also color pairings. So you've got Edgar Markov in the Mardu. You have Olivia just in Rakdos. You've got Vito, who's a really cool commander I like for like more of a clerics build that you can do for like life gain stuff. And then you have Evelyn, who is Grixis. I like the fact that you can be Mardu, you can be Orzhov, Rakdos. You're not going to help me. You're just going to let me drown. Maestros.
Not counting Slivers, but like kind of counting Slivers. Everything that we've had so far that is a real viable creature type has been in those colors. Goblins red,
Mm-hmm.
zombies black, Slivers 5 colors, and vampires also black based.
Yeah, so people tend to like black specific creature types, it looks like.
Yeah.
Definitely makes a ton of sense. We will see that change a little bit in the top 2. But overall, again, life gain, poop out dudes. You have Olivia who wants to recur things from the graveyard. There's a wide range of themes. I think that makes it super flexible and fun.
Like a lot of abilities that are very The word was in my head.
Resilient.
Resilient. So that's probably why they're popular.
Let's go ahead and talk about the next creature type that is very, very popular and sits at the number 2 spot, and that is going to be elves.
Yeah, these aren't Santa's elves.
Elves do indeed make up the second highest deck total on our list at almost 40,000 total decks. We got 39.8 decks, and most of those are in Lathril at almost 18,000 decks.
Yeah, 18,000 is also the number of elves that you tend to make in a Lathril deck.
You guys will get to see me pilot a Lathril deck here on Decked Out in a few weeks. I'm excited. It's a fun episode. But yeah, elves, super fun. It was one of the first decks I built as a kid as well, Goblins and Elves. So I had Well-Wisher and like Timberborn Watch.
Timberwatch Elf.
Yeah, that one.
I know these because I had a friend who had that deck built and I lost to it a lot. So I knew what they were.
Cry about it more, Veggie. Cry about it more. Leave elves alone. They're fine.
I'm just saying, sometimes feels like they get a little favorable treatment from wizards.
You know what this is? This is Veggie still being a little salty that Dana smashed him in the face. Dana Fisher, we love you. Please come back and smash him with some more elves.
Is that like unresolved trauma? Because it was elves versus wizards who kind of got the short end of the stick during that time too.
Yeah, so it might be unresolved trauma to be sure. A really cool thing about elves is they get a lot of support. So it's not a surprise to see it this high on the list. When I was building Lathril a few weeks ago, I was going through EDHRec and just going through the like high synergy cards. And there was a couple of cards that were pretty new that I hadn't seen before. And I would read it and I was just like, oh my God, Wizards loves supporting this particular creature type.
It is for sure too many good cards to fit into a single deck, which can make deck building a little bit more difficult as opposed to like Slivers where the card pool is pretty small. You know, hey, I instantly get like these 40 or these 40 cards that are for sure going to go in every deck. With elves it's like
yeah, Slivers feels a little bit more like a competitive standard deck where you might have 2 or 3 card variants, but elves you can build a bunch of different ways and there's a ton of good elves, so you just pick and choose your favorites and leave out the rest.
Right.
All right, are we ready to move on to our number 1 slot?
Nah, that's it for today. We'll see you next time on
Decked Out Commander Count.
Yeah.
Let's go to number Academy. 1. Number 1, your favorite creature type, or so says our community poll, dragons. Definitely not surprised. Also, I'm learning that, I'm kind of basic because I've played all of these decks on our show. So dragons, the dragon, easily the number 1 dragon played. Of the total 58,000 decks, dragon has 15,000. So not as much of a like dramatic showing compared to the elves, but decidedly the most played. I'm actually really surprised there's a new dragon at number 2.
The second most built dragon commander is Miram Sentinel Worm. Whew. If you don't know it already, it just, whenever you play dragon, you make a copy of that dragon.
Dragon decks are typically made by people who are like, I love dragons, which was me for a very long time. And you know what they love more than dragons? More dragons, twice as many dragons. So, this was really fun and limited. I played it a lot.
I was very confused for a moment because it was like, when were you playing Commander Limited? Oh, right. Because Baldur's Gate also had the arena release.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big reason that they are so popular, because they got that huge boost of support from the recent D&D sets.
Yeah, I would go on a limb and say that this was probably one of the most popular creature types from before then, just because I think dragons have been the big supported creature type for a very long time in Magic. 22 years ago, I was collecting dragon Magic cards. My first rare that I remember opening that I was super excited about was a Draco.
Oh, yes.
And I still have it to this day. I love that card.
That is still, I believe, the highest costed Magic card to ever been printed.
Yep. I opened it and I really wanted to put it in my White Weenie deck. Because I just wanted to play it.
I mean, if there's anybody that supports that, they've always been a cool creature type that showed up pretty consistently across Magic sets. But I don't know if they were really good until a little bit more recently, because it was always like, oh, we only have these like 6, 7, 8 cost dragons. Not a lot of them interacted with each other. They were just big, good creatures.
You're saying that because it wasn't well supported, it wasn't one of the more popular creature types, but yet you picked Homurid?
Popular, yes.
That's
Popular,
all I
yes.
was saying, was that it was very popular.
I'll certainly give you popular.
But certainly not as good as Dragon craziness right now. All right, guys. So I think that's the end of our top 5 and our honorable mentions. So the next thing we'd like to do is we'd like to take a minute to check out a deck list that fits the theme of today's episode from one of our patrons. So we'd like to thank Lucius for being one of our patrons and submitting
Be'lakor the Dark Master. This is demons.
I like demons. I like how tricky they are in that, like, a lot of times they have these really crazy drawbacks, but Black has a tricky way of getting around those oftentimes, and it makes for some really interesting gameplay.
Yes. And they, before this card existed, didn't really have a good representation for a commander, but now for sure they do. Be'lakor the Dark Master is a 6 mana, 6/5 with flying, is a demon noble. Has the ability Prince of Chaos. When Be'lakor the Dark Master enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of demons you control. And has the ability Lord of Torment. Whenever another demon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target.
Any target. Yikes.
Yeah, those are two wildly powerful abilities.
Yes, I feel like you could have just had one or the other, but no, we have both because we are demons of chaos and torment. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the deck list.
Okay.
Oh, these are broken down not by card type, but instead as opposed to the role in which they fill, which seems fine. I like Bolas Citadel in a demon deck. That seems like very on brand.
Yeah. Oh, Haunting Voyage. It took me a moment. I was like, I haven't seen anybody play this, but maybe you all should be, because it's a one-sided, like, pull your whole graveyard back if they're all the same type.
Yeah. Also, like, Blade of Selves is a good card in just about any deck. It's solid. But in a demon deck, every single demon is like a 6/6 huge flying beater with like ETB effects. So like...
Oh, wait. Oh, Lucius, I see what you did there.
What? I don't.
So you're, like, everything you said, totally correct.
Okay.
But what happens if you put this on Be'lakor?
Well, it's legendary, right? So it's going to go away, but you'll get all of the triggers?
You'll get all of the triggers from all of the copies of Be'lakor. So I don't know if I'm going to do all this math right now, but that is four copies of Be'lakor, each seeing 3 copies of Be'lakor enter. So per one, that's 18 damage times 4. I think that's right. It's a lot of damage. You
might also draw yourself out.
there is that.
You might just mill yourself to death.
I would do that totally.
But even if you can't manage to do that, you can put it onto any demon and get a lot of value. Panharmonicon, also insane with these huge demon like ETB payoffs, right?
Both those Be'lakor abilities are ETBs.
Yeah.
I like the flicker inclusions to get even more ETBs.
Whip of Erebos getting you more ETBs. Okay, let's take a look at the mana rocks. It looks like quite a few, actually.
I appreciate that they have Rakdos Lord of Riots included in the mana ramp, because, like, technically, yes. Here's your interaction. I'm a big Bolt Ben fan, and all of your demons are going to be bigger than 4. So,
yep, absolutely. And then you have very good protection being in 3 colors as opposed to just more Rakdos demons. And then you've got Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots, and adding Mithril Coat. So really doubling down on those protection equipments.
Yeah, if I'm gonna pay 6 mana for for my big demon. I don't want it going away right away.
And you certainly want them hitting with haste.
Oh yeah. Oh, you do. You get to play Rakdos the Showstopper as not a meme. Lol. I'm gonna just flip coins for every creature on the table. Let's see who gets destroyed. But it doesn't include demons, so that actually works.
Broker of Blood, always kind of a busted card.
Ooh, yeah. That's
Helm of the Host, let's go. Every time, Veggie. Every time. Helm. It's amazing.
I'm all in for it here because you're not just spending 9 mana for an extra thing. You're getting kind of the Blade of Selves effect. Exponential triggers from Bellicor.
I'm always pro Helm of the Host, and Veggie just makes fun of me, so I'm glad to see it.
Ooh, good deep dive on the Blood Speaker. I remember way back in the day, like trying to make demons work when they absolutely should not have ever worked because of this card. It just lets you constantly tutor for demons as long as you're sacrificing stuff.
All right. I think that is getting close to the end of the deck list here. So let's go ahead and take a look at EDHRec and just see if there's any maybe upgrades or cards that we could swap out that might be a little bit more synergistic. First up, we have some new cards. So these cards might not have been out when this deck was made. And right out of the gate, Virtue of Knowledge in the new Eldraine set.
Brand new tech, and like that's an instant include for me. Second copy of Panharmonicon.
Yes, and the 2-drop side of this, if you for whatever reason can't manage to get this down, is quite tricky. I actually really like this as a modal adventure card. Obnixilis, I love to see Obnixilis Kingpin in. I think he's a great demon, and you could, get cute and get some infinite combos going with like Phyrexia, all will be one, or just all would be one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just like an instant win combo. I love things like that.
From the Sliver deck is the Titan of Lijaras. It can become a demon and then draws cards for your demons, which seems pretty all right.
I don't remember seeing Liliana's Contract in the deck, but I think that's got to be an auto include, right?
That's very surprising because the words "you win the game" are pretty good, and this is the one time you get to run this and it be good.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's a tough thing to fulfill in a commander game. I love card draw. It's not super expensive, and it's just very flavorful. I think this has got to be an include. You know what I'd really like to look at? I'd like to take a look at Planeswalkers. I didn't see any in the deck, and I do think that you could find some really cute ones that will help synergize with the deck.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, straight up, Obnixilis the Adversary does care about demons.
Oh, yeah. I actually thought that only said devil. So that is a much better include. Off the top of my head, I was thinking about him, but I was like, oh, it's not that relevant with devils, but I guess it is.
Yeah.
You also have the other Obnixilis here. -2, make a 5/5 demon for 5. Some good value over time. Certainly nothing as spicy as I would have thought we would have found here.
The Urza's Incubator, I don't think was on the list. That would be a nice help. Since demons don't have a lot of things to reduce their costs.
Yeah, that is one of the few times this card would be relevant, just because usually creature types are so low to the ground. You don't need this, right? It's just kind of a waste.
Demons and
dragons. Yeah.
I love that game. Oh, so I don't think the Balrog was in there in any of its forms. It's got a couple printings, like in the Lord of the Rings set.
Lord Xander?
Oh.
That's an interesting one.
I would be very on board for that being in the deck. It's a card that feels so good to play.
Wait a minute. Garuda is a demon? It's a demon kraken.
It would take a big overhaul of the deck, but like putting that as your companion for this.
I wasn't even talking about companion, just like as is. Like that's pretty crazy.
Oh, I've been looking for somewhere to put an Infernal Sovereign. This was like, this card got like a bunch of hype for like 5 seconds in March of the Machine, and then never heard from it again.
Orcus, Prince of Undeath? That seems like a pretty good one because your creatures are all going to be huge. So the -X is going to be kind of a big blowout for most of the table. Overall, I think the deck was pretty sweet. Veggie, is there anything that you would add to this list based on what we're seeing here?
If I'm going to be honest, this sits in a very sweet spot for me in Commander. It's a lot of cards that I look at that I'm like, I would play this. It's very flavorful and it wants to do big things. So I think the only thing I saw that I would for sure add would be one of the Balrogs, simply for the flavor that just makes me that much happier playing this deck.
So on the veggie scale, and again, it's important to reiterate for you guys that this is not a power level scale. This is our personal scale on what we like about this deck. It has a little bit of power level involved, but it's more about flavor, synergy. Do we like it? So on the veggie scale, what is the ranking from 1 to 10 for this deck?
Lucius gets high marks from me on this one. It's my colors. It's a cool concept. It's flavorful, and it's a lot of cards that I like to play. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 on the veggie scale.
Wow. I think that's, we've kind of just started doing it, but that's definitely the highest rating we've had so far. Well, for me, I think I like it on paper. It seems cool, but it seemed to be missing a little something. It did have a bunch of big demons. All of those demons did cool ETBs, but it didn't have anything else in it. So I would like to see the new Capenna infinite combo with All Will Be One and Obnixilis added. That would be pretty sweet. Or I'd like to see the Liliana's Contract added in for another sort of like alternate win. Because sometimes your big 6/6 flying idiots aren't going to get there. So I'd like to see a little more cuteness. On the Nerd Girl scale, I don't think this is something I would shuffle up. And I feel like it's missing something to be a very strong and powerful deck. So I'm going to go a little low. I'm going to say this is a 6.
Fair enough. I think this is a very good indicator of again the difference in preference and play style and what we want out of a game of Commander.
Absolutely. All right, Lucius, thank you again so much for submitting the deck list. We'd love to see if you decide to make any changes. Make sure you share them in our Discord.
Balrog.
Also, quick thanks to the sponsor of this episode, EDHRec. We really do appreciate this, making this possible, along with our patrons. So thank you guys for that.
Well, that's all for today's episode, but we will see you next time on Commander Countdown.